Deep below the vast ocean, mysteries lie hidden in its shadowy depths, secrets that only emerge when brave souls dare to confront the unknown. For marine biologist Ethan Parker, the sea had long been a safe haven, until one fateful day, it morphed into a stage for mercy. It all began with a piercing cry. Not the gentle tune of familiar whales, but a frantic broken call from a young whale stranded in distress, its mother nowhere to be seen. Then, in a moment that defied expectation, the orphaned cast fixed its gaze on a diver and led him into the murky unknown. In that instant, Ethan understood that this was no run-of-the-mill rescue mission. What lay beneath was beyond belief, a majestic mother whale, trapped under a grim cloak of barnacles, weighed down by the scars of human carelessness. Her every graceful movement was hindered by pain, and hope now rested on the hands of those who once had taught her to trust. And so began a tale of nature taking a leap of faith, a wild creature daring to rely on human help, where survival teetered on the edge of time, and every heartbeat underwater held the promise of change. What does it mean when the natural world pleads for our attention? Stay with us as this gripping saga unfolds. At dawn, thick fog hugged the coast of Howe Sound in British Columbia as Ethan Parker meticulously zipped up his dry suit. With practiced ease, his weathered hands prepared for a dive that he'd performed countless times, but today carried an odd tension in the air, a stillness in the water he couldn't quite explain. Perfect for a survey dive, he murmured, checking his gear one last time. For over 20 years, Ethan's bond with the ocean had grown almost magical, a fact his colleagues at the local Marine Research Institute often joked about, claiming he was half fish. Yet there was truth behind the humour, as the sea had embraced him ever since his childhood, adventures off the coast. On the research vessel Ocean Scout, his partner Dr. Chin, the team's lead marine veterinarian, joined him with a steaming cup of morning coffee. "Ah, you're here early," she observed, handing him the cup. With a grateful smile, Ethan sipped, confessing he'd been restless all night. "There's a something about today," he said. Sarah, sharing a warm laugh, teased him. "Your gut feeling spoke up last week too when we only found kelp and the usual suspects." But deep down, Ethan knew the crisp morning air was charged, like the moments before a storm burst forth. And as they prepared to study the recovering local marine life, a revival after decades of overfishing and damage, a quiet anticipation swirled among them. What would the day reveal next? As Ethan completed his final gear check, soft sunlight began piercing the fog, creating delicate beams that danced over the water's surface. The calm might have been soothing if not for eerie calls echoing over the sound. Calls that didn't match the gentle tunes of humpback whales, but were erratic and desperate. "Do you hear that?" Sarah asked, lowering her coffee in a frown. Nodding, Ethan edged toward the ship, remarking, "That doesn't sound like our usual humpback song." The calls were growing stronger, and through the lifting fog they spotted a dark shape moving with an odd rhythm. A young humpback whale, no more than a few months old, circling in a clear display of distress. Its frantic dives and rushed surfacing raised one pressing question. Where its mother? Enan. With no adult whale in sight, a rarity among humpback families, the situation was deeply unsettling. Just as Ethan prepared for a closer look, Sarah grabbed his arm, urging caution. "Ethan, we should call for backup first. If that calf needs help, we can't risk it." Calmly, he replied, "I'll do a quick check and keep a safe distance. We must know what we're facing." After 5 years of working closely, Sarah knew his determination well, and they agreed to stay in constant touch. The tension built as every moment underwater grew more critical. Segre Moina. What was the calf trying to tell them? The water turned cooler as Ethan dove beneath the surface, his vision capturing a stunning interplay of morning light and shifting rays that spotlighted the marine scene. In the gentle underwater glow, the distressed calf emerged, a striking humpback about 15 feet in length, with a notable white fin. Unlike most young whales, who show excitement when near divers, this one immediately swam in Ethan's direction, its intelligent eyes locking onto him. His heart raced. Even with years of encounters, a whale approaching so directly was unusual and raised the stakes. The calf circled him slowly, then nudged him softly with its rostrum, as if signalling him to follow. "Be careful," crackled Sarah over the radio, but Ethan's resolve was clear. He followed, watching as the calf led him forward a few paces, often pausing as if to check on him. Together, they moved into deeper, darker waters away from the familiar shallow coast, leaving behind hints of safety for something unknown and ominous. What mystery awaited them further along? In the dim gloom ahead, Ethan's eyes were drawn to a colossal shape. A full-grown female humpback nearly 40 feet long, but something was gravely off. The majestic creature lay unnaturally still, with a slight lean, its skin marred by an overwhelming layer of barnacles. "Oh my God," Ethan gasped into his radio. "Sarah, I think I've found the mother." Her voice trembled as she confirmed, "I've never seen anything like this. Her body is swathed in barnacles, not just in small patches, but almost like a thick, brutal shell. Approaching with caution, Ethan witnessed the devastating truth. The barnacles had clung so tenaciously that they nearly locked her in place. Worse still, glints of synthetic debris, a piece of fishing net, could be seen near her mouth, hinting at human interference. Meanwhile, the distressed calf continued its relentless circling, sometimes gently bumping its mother, whose weak responses only deepened the agony of the scene. In that heart-wrenching moment, Ethan knew urgent action was needed. How would they save such a magnificent creature from this human-made nightmare? The situation demanded swift coordination. "To Sarah, we need all hands on deck," Ethan announced. He'd call the Marine Mammal Rescue Center. "We'll need a veterinary team and extra diving support to help keep her near the surface." Within moments, multiple boats arrived with specialists and equipment from various wildlife organizations. Dr. James Morrison, the region's top marine mammal veterinarian, took charge, assembling an expert team to tackle the crisis. "I've never seen such heavy barnacle coverage in a whale," he declared, his eyes wide with disbelief. The evidence was there. The synthetic net had likely weakened her immune system, letting the barnacles invade far beyond what nature intended. With grim determination, the team began an intricate rescue operation, described later as one of the most challenging marine interventions ever attempted. They set up floating platforms to support the beleaguered whale, while experts worked methodically to remove the barnacles in small, careful sections. And then came the daunting task of extracting the fishing net from deep within her digestive system, a delicate process given the toxins that had seeped into her body. The stakes were high, and the tension built with every passing minute. Could they pull off this miracle? Throughout the operation, Ethan felt a profound pull from the young calf, whose presence was like a silent guardian in the watery gloom. The calf would hover close by, its soulful eyes conveying gratitude and urgency, as if to say, "You did the right thing. Sir, I'm here because of you." Hour after hour, team members took turns carefully chipping away the thick barnacle layers, bucket after bucket of nature's burden, serving as stark proof of the whale's suffering. Even as Dr. Morrison, accompanied by Sarah and other vets, delicately removed the net. Ethan's mind raced with both hope and worry. "You're lucky," Morrison commented during a short break, "because weeks ago, this might have been the end of her." The procedure stretched deep into the night, illuminated by powerful underwater lights as they fought to restore the whale's ability to move freely and breathe normally. Every moment was filled with a cocktail of fear, determination, and fragile hope. What would come at the first light of dawn? As midnight passed, Dr. Morrison finally announced that the net had been removed and about 60% of the barnacle load was cleared. Enough to let the whale begin to heal, even if the battle was far from over. "We've done what we can, but she's still weak," he admitted. His fatigue evident. For the next 24 hours, the team maintained a close vigil, watching every breath and subtle movement. The young calf stayed by its mother's side, occasionally nudging her gently, as if offering comfort and encouragement. Even though Ethan was supposed to rest, he couldn't tear himself away from the unfolding drama. At daybreak, Sarah nudged him with a fresh cup of coffee. "You should sleep," she urged. "But when you do, know that every second here counts." And as the sun rose on the second day, the first signs of improvement began to show. The mother whale's movements, though still laboured, grew more deliberate, and her shallow breaths steadied as she responded to her calf's gentle prods. Was this the turning point they had hoped for? By the third day, dramatic improvements were evident. The once heavy burden of barnacles had lightened, and with the toxic net gone, the giant had started moving with newfound freedom, making brief, strong dives and returning to the surface near the support boats, as if thanking her rescuers. The once frantic calf had shifted into a playful rhythm, leaping joyfully and making small breaches that brought smiles to the faces of even the hardest rescue veterans. On the fourth day, Dr. Morrison made the call they'd all been anxiously waiting for. "She's ready," he said, explaining that her blood work was improving and she could now survive on her own. In a moment that was as beautiful as it was bittersweet, support boat slowly pulled away while the mother whale launched herself into a full breach, her massive body soaring out of the water before crashing back in a spectacular splash. The young calf mimicked the act, its smaller leap full of exuberance, leaving many watching in silent awe. "Oh, thank you," Sarah whispered to Ethan as she squeezed his hand. But even this triumphant rescue carried a deeper message. What did it truly say about our impact on the oceans? In the days that followed, the rescue left a mark on Ethan that went far beyond the immediate crisis. That fishing net, nearly fatal on its own, was only one piece of a larger puzzle. The harmful effects of human activity on marine life. Determined to fight back, Ethan dove headfirst into marine conservation. He became a driving force at the local Marine Research Institute, launching a project to remove abandoned fishing gear from the sea, a program soon known as the Ghosted Initiative. He shared the story at local schools and community centres, urging everyone to understand the need for ocean care. Sarah was right there with him, helping secure funds and broadening the program's reach. Their combined efforts led to the development of new methods for spotting and saving marine animals in distress. Almost exactly a year later, during a routine dive in the same waters, Ethan heard the familiar calls of humpbacks. Two whales appeared on the horizon, a large adult and a playful juvenile gliding gracefully beneath the surface. The adult, though still marked by scattered barnacles, exuded strength. The juvenile, no longer a tiny calf, carried that same lively energy as if it remembered Ethan's rescue. As they passed by, the young whale even performed a near-perfect breach, splashing spray over the boat and sparking laughter in the crew. In that light-hearted moment, Ethan felt an enduring connection that transcended all boundaries, a reminder of how one act of care can ripple through entire ecosystems. Later that evening, while sitting on the deck of the Ocean Scout and watching the fading light, Ethan reflected on how one encounter had changed so many lives, not just the whales they saved, but his own as well. Sharing a quiet conversation over coffee with Sarah, he mused, that calf knew exactly what it was doing. It knew to bring us help, to show its need. The moment reminded him that every living creature carries a spark of connection, urging us to protect one another. With the last of the day's light, Ethan silently promised the ocean and its creatures he would continue his work, keep fighting for their safety, and spread their story far and wide. In that tender twilight, as a whale's silhouette merged with the orange sky, it was clear that what truly mattered was living freely in healthier waters, thanks to people who cared. And so, the legacy of that barnacle-clad whale and her determined calf became more than a news story. It became a powerful reminder that sometimes the smallest act of kindness can ignite a change that touches an entire world.